Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Penalty Loop Podcast, a podcast about biathlon by Jordan Gottschalk from Penalty Loop and a regular guest, RJ Weiss from Biathlon Analytics.
Good evening, RJ. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I have a very long weekend because I was off last Friday, and then we have Canada Day on Tuesday, and then we have Monday off, so...
How do you guys celebrate Canada Day?
Like Canadians or
what do you guys
me
do?
And my family or
All the
it
above?
sounds like we're having my wife's family over for either a barbecue in the afternoon or lunch. Sometimes in downtown Calgary, there's a really nice park where they have some performances and just, I guess just a fun outing for families. If the weather cooperates, we might go there, but it's been kind of off and on with sunny, rainy weather. So we'll kind of play by ear. And then we're going to have some renos done in our house on the 7th. And we need to basically clean out our bedroom and a big other room and the bathrooms and everything. So I think that will creep up on us pretty quick, so I'll bet you will do a little bit of that.
Good luck with that.
Are you celebrating Canada Day?
Well, we really should celebrate Canada Day. We got some news on that coming up later. But yeah, I was just curious because that's going to be something we're going to have to learn how to celebrate. But it sounds like it's a lot like July 4th here. So
you really just go out and join the party, and it's all good.
Yeah.
There's no,
wave my maple leaf. Yeah.
Wearing your maple leaf, and I see you're already wearing a red shirt, so that's good.
Yep, getting in the spirit of
it.
Right in. So today, you guys have already seen the title of the episode, so you know that we're going to be having an interview with Emma Lunder, and since she is, one of our favorite people in biathlon, just period, it was obviously it was a great time. I always enjoyed any moment that we've gotten to speak with her, especially our time we had in Oslo. But it was really nice catching up with her and hearing what she's been up to and getting some of her thoughts on Canada biathlon going forward and kind of what she's up to. It's great.
I just find it amazing that, when we started this, it was all, I think we're old enough to not be like blown away by top athletes, but it still always felt this, kind of look up to them. And not that I don't do that from a sports performance, but just to be chatting with her, like it's almost like a friend. I even found it in Oslo already, where we were just kind of hanging out with the Canadians, and that's just super cool that you're just hanging out on a Sunday night and having one of the best Canadian biathlon athletes
ever
chatting with you.
Second most. I just learned this the other day because I for whatever reason just hadn't put it together, but she has the second most top 10s in women's biathlon history for Canada. So we're talking about one of the best. And that's how I felt in Oslo. I felt like we would just chat after the race, or we mentioned during this interview, during the mass start, we were just kind of hanging out with them, and it just felt like, we were just part of their crew, part of their group. It's very neat. I also had this, and I think we shared this when we talked about our thoughts about Oslo, but when she, after her pursuit, we chatted with her for a few minutes. We were at the, the end of the line for interviews. And after that, really, she goes out and goes up the stairs, and it's like out of the stadium. And I remember having this thought watching her walk out. It was like, it was like I knew intellectually that she was retiring, but watching her walk out, it like really hit me. And even now, just thinking about it, I'm starting to get all emotional, because I was like, wow, there she goes.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. It's over. We will never see her race again. And it's strange to think about. I think it really won't hit me until next fall, right, when she's not there with the team. But I'm going to miss her.
Yeah, it's just such a set name, right?
It was.
When you're looking at scores and stuff, you're always looking for the Canadian flags. And then where's Emma?
Yep. And you can just count on
but,
it.
we'll have new ones to root for, cheer for.
Will we ever? You want to talk about one of the new ones?
So
that was an excellent transition. If you want to talk about one of the new ones who was racing this weekend. So there was our first summer biathlon race of the season. Took place in Italy, the Frassinotto Summer Biathlon Festival, and the Italian team was there mostly. Lisa Vitazzi and Doro were not there, but the rest of the main Italians were there. Like Giacomo was there, and the American team was having a camp out there. So Campbell Wright was there, Deidre Irwin, Lucy Anderson, and then Pascal Paradis was joining them for the camp, so she was there. Jaka Falk, Lompich was there, Kuzmina. There were a few others. It was kind of it was a fun group. So they got together. The races started. They did this 2-person. I guess it was almost like a warm up, or it'd be one man and one woman that went out. And the very end, it was funny. They put Jacquemelle and Campbell Wright together for like the little warm up group, and that was fun to see. And then it was sort of a super sprint event where they did 3 opening rounds for each man and for the men, and 3 opening rounds for the women, and then 2 semifinals, and then the finals. And for the men, Campbell Wright won the finals, and for the women, it was Pascal Paradis who took the championship. I think Kuzmina was in the championship. She that came in second. Lompich was in third. I don't remember who the 4th and 5th were.
She made a strong push. Hey,
Lompich. Oh my God, did she ever?
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. She was not she was racing to win in that last lap, but
yeah.
So Paradis started.
Kuzmina crossed the line first, but
yes, yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Is that Paradis in her very first, shooting, the third target closed before she had shot, and so they had to reset it, and so she fell behind early, but she fought her way all the way back. And then she and Kuzmina were racing the last lap, neck and neck. And so Kuzmina, crossed the finish line. I think it was 0.1 seconds ahead, but they gave Paradis a time bonus back for the time where they had to reset the target. So she actually ended up winning. But Lompich started the final lap, well back and surged forward. I think she ended up like a second or 2 seconds back of them. So she definitely was not treating it like it was just a little exhibition. She was going all out, which is cool.
She was going for it. Yeah. And do you think Pascal knew that she was going to get a time correction?
She wasn't racing like she knew she was going to get a time bonus.
No, exactly. Yeah.
That was so cool because she was well back. I just assumed when I saw her in the mix late in the race, I was like, oh, I must have had that wrong. It must have been somebody else. I must have I must have just not seen correctly who it was who had the issue. But I mean, she had a great race to get back in it. Again, it's just a little summer biathlon festival. I mean, it was like a 5-person range, so it wasn't exactly like it was these huge races, but it was fun. It was just enjoyable.
Yeah, with the rope reset. Hey, did you see that?
Was that?
The targets were actually reset by pulling that rope.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was
old school.
The only phrase, I mean, the word that came to mind was charming. The whole thing was charming. It was just small, this cute little venue. It was really nice. It was kind of sweet. And
so there were moments where. Go ahead.
I was to think you had Campbell Wright and Jacquemelle and Lompich. I mean, these are big names. Kuzmina, these are huge names in biathlon, and they're right there. And there are a few hundred people out there watching. That would have been really cool to be there.
No, I was wondering because they had some live commentary on the YouTube channel, but I think it was also in the stadium. But there were moments where I was like, "Oh, that's the guy from is it Fondo, Italia?"
yeah. I don't know if I don't believe it was him. I think he was, but it could have been.
Okay,
great. Because
I just had that picture of him sitting there with a big smile.
So excited, yeah. The whole thing looked like a lot of fun. And this is the cool part is that they showed, little replays at the end. And after the replays of the finals, you could see sitting along the sides, there were athletes there that just had a beer in their hand. So clearly there's a little party afterwards too. And it was just kind of fun to see.
Oh, it was gorgeous weather too, it seemed.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Future of Canadian biathlon looks like it's got a very good woman coming up. So Pascal Paradis, been talking about her for like 4 years now, but
for good reasons.
For good reasons. Couple other news and notes. There is a change, a couple things that the IBU changed. One is that the overall champion from each season is automatically granted a spot in the same way that like the IBU Cup champion gets a bonus spot for their team going the next year. The overall champion gets a bonus spot for the team going forward, except it is reserved just for them. So for this coming season, the German women will have 7 spots for the first 2 weeks of the season, because Preuss gets the extra spot. Now the Norwegians do not get an extra spot because it's capped at 7, so you can't go any higher than that. Thank you to Sebastian Samuelsson, who filled me in on that. The article on the Biathlon World webpage does not mention that, but when I posted about it on Twitter, Seba Samuelsson corrected me very, very gently, very kindly, and I very much appreciated that. And so it is capped at 7. You can, because in theory the Norwegian men would have 8 with
right.
I believe Isaac Frey's
IBU Cup win
overall, and then Sturla's overall, but only 7. That, and then prize money is going up again this year, which is pretty cool.
It's awesome. And we have a new sponsor, right? Main sponsor. Not Wiesmann anymore.
Oh, did I miss that?
Yep.
Who is it?
Wirtz.
Cool.
I think.
All right.
I think it's. I thought it was like a construction company, but not sure. But maybe that has to do with more prize money.
That could be it as well. Yeah, I did not see that, but I am not doubting you one bit.
Oh, that makes me feel good.
Then they reallocated some. I wasn't saying that. Lastly, they reallocated some medals, and this is just crazy how long these appeals take. So there's the Russian biathlete Evgeny Ustugov, who so they finally his appeals have been totally rejected now. These were his results between 2010 and 2014. That's like the Vancouver to Sochi Olympics. And it's just so long ago that, and this is where it hit me. They updated the medals for the 2011 World Championships so that Lucas Hofer is now the silver medalist in the mass start, and Taryabo is now the bronze medalist. So Taryabo, who just retired in 2011, that was his second full season on the World Cup. And this case was just finally settled this year. And that's crazy to me. Incidentally, Taryabo now ties Martin Fourcade for 3rd most overall World Championship medals with this, which is kind of just a funny thing to have happen after you've retired. And then we also noticed that Christoph.
So I wonder
Surin,
if they update your prize money.
Oh,
if that's still in the currency from then, or
or
right?
Can I get it updated
the value
for
from then or not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's your $100 gift card.
Yeah, thanks, great guys. Yeah, appreciate it. Or do you get the prize money from the from this year? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I don't have anything else. You got anything?
Nope. I don't. So hopefully everybody enjoys our interview with Emma Lunder.
Oh.
Now former professional athlete.
Absolutely. If you don't enjoy it, I don't know what to tell you. She's a joy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Have fun, everyone. Thanks.
Bye.
So we got a former athlete who has also been on the podcast. We started chatting about this podcast in Oslo and then got just a little bit delayed. And now we're finally here with Emma. Emma, welcome on the podcast again.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
To be fair, I think it was nice to let you have some time away just to enjoy not being in the biathlon world for a moment.
It's, you know what? And it's good that you guys followed up because I had the intention to, reschedule and whatever. And just kind of got away from me.
Totally understandable. And we had some good times with your brother in the I was going to say the C train, but the tram or whatever it's called in Oslo.
He had like the best trip of his life at that World
awesome.
Cup. Yeah, it was really cool to see how much he enjoyed it.
Well, and I think if you ever pick a World Cup, that was kind of the perfect one, both with what was happening on the snow and just the weather, and also not a bad place to have your final races.
No, definitely not.
You must have considered retiring in Cam or two, though.
Yeah, it was like, honestly, I didn't even know last season until partway through. And I think there'd just been so much going on that the like prior season with the Canmore World Cup, I was just dealing with other things. Biathlon was kind of taking a back seat. And I did know I wanted to do at least one more year, but I wasn't sure if it was going to be 1 or 2. And yeah, Oslo just felt like kind of a great place to end it.
Mm-hmm. And how much did you try to convince Christian to go on for another year, or were you like, I just want to have 1 year without you around? Or
I think he also, it wasn't like 100% for him when he did finish. And yeah, it was maybe interesting to see him go through that, and then my own experience with contemplating retirement and then actually retiring. And it's just so different for every person, is what I think I've learned. There's no right way or set way to do it and to make that decision.
And at what point did you feel you were 100% sure, okay, this is the time?
I would say the second week of World Championships in Lenzerheide, I'd had a decent first week for how the season had been going. It was some of my better racing, and I kind of almost went the other way of like thinking about doing another year and the Olympics and everything like that. And then the second week, I was maybe thinking about like, okay, what does another Olympics give me? And I think the last few years doing biathlon, it was always about improving for me and getting the next PB and like chasing that top end result. And I think the last training season that I did was one of my best ever. Like my testing, the treadmill testing, everything was just looked so on track. And I was like, this is the year I'm going to get a podium. And it was not playing out like that in the results. And even talking with the coaches and trying to figure things out as the season was going on, there just weren't really any answers. And I just, I don't know. I would say it was honestly the single mixed relay in Lenzerheide. It was Adam and I, and, I was shooting well. He was doing fine. And we were kind of battling at the back of the pack. And I just had this feeling, I was like, this isn't really the biathlon that I want to be doing. Like I really, really loved it when I was feeling competitive and motivated, and the results were kind of matching with the effort level that I was putting in. And after 2 years of it not really working, I spent a week there with Elisa Gasparin, who was one of my like better friends on the World Cup. And it was a dream week where we went downhill skiing. We went to see these ice caves. Like we were doing some training, but also just kind of enjoying life together for a week. And she had told me in December that she was retiring, and it was already public and everything by the time we got to World Champs. And it was really interesting to just kind of talk with her about her decision and how she had, come to a solid conclusion of what she was going to do. And even that whole week, like one day I would wake up at her place and think, okay, like I'm done. I'm going to just enjoy the rest of the season and that's it. And then the next day I would wake up and I think, oh, maybe I could come here for a training camp with the Swiss team and like do something with the US girls. And I really it just felt like my brain was flip-flopping every day. And it was a little bit frustrating because I would talk to Christian and one day, I'm crying saying, okay, I'm retiring. And then the next day I would call him and I'd be like, I don't know, like maybe I have another year in me. And it was frustrating for me, and I'm sure it was for him too. But I just think it was sort of maybe what I needed to do, just this like processing. And even that week at the end of it, because I had mentioned at the start of the week when I was asking her, and she said, oh, for sure you're doing another year. And I said, honestly, it's not for sure. I really don't know. And she was shocked. And at the end of the week at her house, we were having our last dinner, and she's like, oh, I just wanted to ask, like, I didn't want to bring it up, but have you thought more about it? And I said, I am so lost. Like, one day I think yes, one day I think no. And I said, maybe going to Nova Mesto, if I have like really good results, I'll know one way. And if I have bad results, I'll know. It did not help at all. Like, I had one not great race, one okay race. And again, I was like, well, that didn't give me the answer. But then we went to Pokljuka, and I think I knew that if I was going to be done, it was really important to me to know, so I could say goodbye to people that, of course you can message and whatever afterwards, but having the like finish line celebration was something that I loved seeing other athletes have. And I was like, that is important to me. And I was rooming with Nadia Moser, and I had just had a chat with my sports psych, not even talking about retirement necessarily, but it was sort of more talking about debriefing the season, and if I were to continue, what I might, chat with the coaches about. And I hung up my call from him and I just started crying. And it was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to debrief and make a plan. Like, I think I'm ready to move on to the next part of my life. And kind of stayed up late chatting with her. I got back to the room and I was like, can we talk? And just even saying it out loud to her, because I think the team had been so aware that they didn't know what I was doing and I wasn't sharing anything. It was like very respectful in that they didn't want to ask me, oh, are you retiring? Are you not retiring? It was nice. It was super on my own terms. But I think that night, just kind of saying it out loud to her, what I'd been thinking with and going through, I just felt my shoulders drop, like, to share this. And she kind of even saw it, I think. And she's like, well, if you had to decide like right now, and I would say, okay, I'm retired. She's like, well, how does it say to feel that? And I said, it feels like a huge relief. And the next morning I woke up still feeling this way. Like, it was just, I don't know, it switched from this really flip-floppy to like a calmer clarity, I would say. And that day I met with the coaches down in the lobby. I called our head coach back home, and every single person I told, it was emotional, but like literally it was like my shoulders just dropped lower and lower and lower. And I was like, oh my God, this is my body showing me that it's the right decision.
Yep. So
it's funny how that works.
What did it feel like going into that last week, knowing this is it? Were there any memories in specific that you were trying to capture, or any feelings you were trying to capture?
I think it was so much about being present, and it was for the Pokljuka weekend as well as Oslo. And even in Pokljuka, it was, our men's team was really fighting to get their 4 Olympic starts, like the quota. We were right on the edge, and there was a mixed relay. I'm not sure what it was, but it was like, I felt like for myself, I just wanted to enjoy being with the team, going for the jogs around the lake, like really just soaking it all in, sort of the things that, after doing it for 10 years become pretty routine. But I did feel like in the relay that weekend, I was able to push myself harder than I wanted to for the men's team. Because then I would say in Oslo, I was so happy for the social aspect and to like do the last official training and, go into town with the team and go for coffee. And like, I had such a great week, but kind of as soon as I said it out loud, my body was not interested in pushing anymore.
Yeah. Well, I think after so many years of pushing, I think that's totally acceptable and understandable.
Oh,
so.
yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. But
and then you have those. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I got the finish line, champagne, and the celebration. And we went out in Oslo and we all came and watched the mass starts and saw the Bo's retirement. And like, that was a perfect ending. It felt like the first maybe like small bit of closure. And I was so glad to have that before I came back to Canada.
I have
but that was all for you, right? The Bo brothers were just kind of a sideshow.
Yeah.
I actually have a specific memory of we were standing a little bit behind you watching the Bo brothers in the finish line area. And I had this distinct memory. Actually, I took a picture of it because the image was so cool of you watching the Bo brothers finish line ceremony. And I was really wondering, and I've been wondering this since March, what was going through your head watching them have that moment?
I think it was, and it's funny you say that because even in Ruhpolding, when Johannes announced his retirement, I like vividly remember I was so emotional watching his press conference. And at that point in the season, I had been thinking about what I would do, but it was so maybe freeing for me to think, okay, this man is the best in the world. He could go to the next Olympics and like win everything. And he's like allowing himself to stop. Like he doesn't, need more. And I think that maybe helped me in a way of, I was like, okay, it's so cool. I've been to 2 Olympics, but if I'm going to a third, just to say I'm going to a third, that's not why I want to do this. And I think, yeah, again, it was maybe like thinking about that press conference and just seeing the emotions between him and Tarjei and thinking about my own, how it felt crossing the finish line. And yeah, I was definitely a bit sad, I would say, but also like I felt the relief and I wondered if it was a similar feeling for them, even though they were the like absolute best in the world.
Yeah, and for you to be able to, because Elina was there with you, right, in the sort of the lap of honor.
Yeah, that was really cool to do that little ski around the stadium with Elisa.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's like of all the people, right? It's,
yeah, I would not have wanted to do that alone. I'll say that. Having a friend to do it with, that was special. But if I'd had to do that alone, that's my nightmare.
Yeah, I don't know. I can imagine that would be kind of feeling awkward, even though I think 99% of the audience genuinely means, applauding you and thanking you. But
yeah.
So I just did they give you for that? Did they say, hey, you're going to start here and go around, or was it just like, here you go? It
was like meet at the stadium at this time sort of thing, and then got some instructions when we showed up. But yeah, it was not super clear. We just kind of like figured it out on the fly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because I imagine that all of the focus from the point of view of like the stadium event staff was on Johannes and Tarjei and their retirement. So not that you guys are an afterthought, but just like they knew that was where all the, that was the big ceremony. And so they had to sort of make sure that you guys had your own moment, or else you'd just be swallowed up by, by them,
Totally.
Sorry, RJ, I cut you off just a second ago.
No, go ahead. I saw you were just about to say something. I was just waiting.
Yeah. I guess my other thought was you guys were awesome. I think RJ and I have both talked about it. That day, that Sunday, we spent a lot of time just chatting with you and the rest of the Canadian team. And there's one other thing I was really been curious about, was, we were watching from the point of view of, fans, basically, that's what we are. But when you see something happen like what happened at the end with Preuss and Jean Monod, where it comes down and there's that fall at the end, like from an athlete's perspective, because I know I talked to you in the moment, and I was probably babbling like an idiot. I'm sure I was, because that's what I do. But what goes through your mind, knowing them two, competing against them, but also like being an athlete yourself and seeing that happen?
I think that I said this sort of in the moment when we were talking about it, but my main feeling was like, no one wanted that to happen.
Right.
No one wants to win a race like that, and no one wants to lose a race like that. Not that I've been in necessarily the like winning position, but even if like I've had, sprint finishes and mass starts where someone fell in front of me and I gained one position. And like, that's not how I want to gain the position. Of course it's sport, and I didn't stop and like help her up and let her go in front of me. It was Mona Brorson. I remember, because she crossed and I was like, oh God, like, sorry you fell, but she tripped over her own pole, whatever. I think I do. It was like, they're, especially for them, there'd been so much suspense building up to that finish. And it was just like the disappointment, not that it happened, but just like, that's all we get. We don't actually get to see. I just felt, I think Lou handled it like a champ, like such grace.
Approach too, to be honest.
Of course. And I just, I think it's like, I guess I don't follow other sports closely, but I do think that the way that they both handled it made me feel like proud of the biathlon community. And you see it, people give polls or whatever. You've seen it over the years, but it was just like the worst kind of cliffhanger.
Yeah, I know.
And I must say, like, I think I said this before, I still would not have been 100% shocked if Preuss would have actually held back and waited. Yeah.
And again, it's like to make those split, like, you're not thinking rationally. You're at the end of a full season of racing, the 12 and a half kilometer mass start. You've been like battling the whole time. It's like, you don't have brain cells to help you with logic at that point. You're just on the brink of survival. And you could have gone either way. It was just
and I think that's more or less what I said, where, in that moment you don't think about it. But I think if Preuss had a sort of a 10-minute stop in time where she could see what's going on, and I would never expect that, but I would not be shocked if she'd be like, okay, I'm just going to let her come side by side and then we'll battle it out.
You almost felt the stadium just like deflate. Like, it hurt my heart to watch it. But
well, especially after Lou going through this very similar thing last year where she was so close at the end. I mean, I think she knew in the mass start she couldn't win the overall, but
I appreciated you all sort of letting us in for that moment, because I almost felt like an intruder, but it was really neat to be standing near all of you and sort of feel your emotion at that moment, like as it happened. It was really neat. We talk about this all the time. I think as human beings, we just sort of throw this out there, and probably Americans and maybe Canadians as much as anybody, but like, that's a moment I'll never forget. That is literally a moment I will never forget, is being there and seeing that happen, because that was just it was unbelievable. I
don't think anyone could have predicted that.
Oh God, no.
And I would say I've been tripped on that corner, honestly.
Really?
Yeah.
Also by Preuss?
No, it was by Doro. It was by Doro. But it's
90 degrees
in a mass start or whatever. And that's the thing for me. I'm like, can we fix this? Like, again, no blame, but like, it's always been a really sharp corner when you have a pack of people.
What it's especially, like you said, the end of a race, at the end of a season, at the end of a grueling weekend, and
when
that
it's slushy conditions.
Yes,
it's
you have that steep climb just before, because even that after you come kind of at the top of the climb, you're still skating. Even when it's a bit, I don't know if it's flat or downhill a little bit. But
it kind of forces someone to do something weird, like And, courses, they don't need to have that added challenge.
Yeah. Well, and I think in a lot of cases, people want to stay on the boarding site because that's where the snow is in the shade, right?
For sure. For sure.
I greatly appreciate you guys for letting us be there.
That was fun. It was fun to have you guys there and like meet in person and just, even hear from your perspectives.
Like I said, I was just rambling. So,
so does it ever happen in a weekend that people on the team that are not in the mass start are that close? Like, is it pretty special because it's the last weekend that you're basically almost on the course, or do you regularly stand there?
I would say it depends on the course. Like it's a bit unique with the stadium in Oslo. For sure, when we've had athletes in the mass start, like typically if there's no more racing, most of our team, whether it was for me or Adam or whoever, would go out and watch and cheer them on just because it wasn't every weekend we'd have someone in that position. And you're allowed on the course, mostly in like coaching zones. It's just, with that Oslo stadium kind of exit, you do feel like you're maybe a bit closer to the action than on some of the courses. Because it's nice. You have the range and, then you can cheer for them as they go by. But I would say to have as many people out there, that only happens on the last weekend.
Right.
Yeah. So it is kind of fun.
It felt like the party was starting right there.
Yeah. Oh, it was. Well, you can see people had like coolers and they're pouring their little drinks and.
Yep.
I'm not sure it needed to start that early for some of the athletes. They could have waited a little while.
Yeah, I don't need to know what happened later in the evening. That's for you guys, but I have to imagine that some of them were having they were overserved by the end of the night. So yeah.
Yeah, that's safe to say.
So racing for a nation that has some struggles with finances and that kind of thing compared to the big nations. Have you ever had a thought or discussion or dream where you're like in your head, you're a Norwegian racing for, probably the biggest budget team?
Yeah, I think it's almost
which also comes with a lot of pressure, of course. And
I think it's almost a slippery slope because it's easy to think the grass is always greener. And if we had more money, and okay, to an extent, I think we're the only team that pays the amount that we pay to race on the World Cup, out of pocket, which just is the reality of the situation, but it's unfortunate. But definitely through my career, it was almost less about budget and more about imagine having teammates that strong was sort of what I thought, and training partners that I think when I was coming up in the sport and I was the weakest or the youngest or whatever, I just thought, imagine having this feeling through your whole career where I was able to like really catch up to people, when you have Rosanna and even Julia and Zena over the years to chase. And then I think it was later in my career when I was, the older one on the team, most experienced, leading a lot of the intensity sessions and things like that, that I would maybe think, oh, imagine if you could train with the French team or the German team or the Swedish team, like whoever has these really strong women, and just wondering what that would be like. But I think that it can be almost detrimental because if that's not your reality, it almost makes you think that maybe you're at a disadvantage. And I think that financially it's tough as a Canadian, but if you go in feeling like that, it's really challenging to go up against the top nations. You almost have to just have this belief, like I'm doing what I can and it's going to be enough. But yeah, I think over the years too, it was really interesting for me with people like Anais and even Elisa to talk about what they did for training and find out that we weren't so different. There wasn't some secret, training philosophy that we had no clue about. Of course, every team does things slightly differently, but it's like if you do your training and you believe in it, I think that's kind of the best thing as an
Right.
athlete.
Yeah, absolutely.
And talking about, your connection with the Swiss team, like the female coach there, she does seem to have a bit of a different approach, just from, hearing people talk about her and just kind of getting a sense of what you read about it. I don't know if you know her at all, but did and I also don't want to. I don't expect you to say what Elisa told you, but just was that a big change? Did you notice anything about that?
Yeah, I really don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I just knew that the team was super happy with her and liked. I think that she brought the men's, and maybe not just her, but the other coaching staff as well. They really brought the men and women's team together, which I think the prior generation had been quite separate, which I saw too. And yeah, the training, I don't know, but they were super happy with maybe the like culture that she also helped bring to the team.
Well, we saw them
Yeah.
with some pretty intense spike ball games before,
Yeah.
at the hotel. So I don't know if, maybe that helped their hand-eye coordination too. But certainly the team,
yeah. And I've seen them doing that for a couple of years, and here or there, I'd be able to join in and do a few passes. But yeah, you did see them doing a lot of stuff together, which I think can just help build a strong team.
Yeah, you do see it more, right? But the Swedes have been training men and women together for years now, and I also think there's just more. There seems to be, generally speaking, in coaching, more leeway for athletes to do their own thing to a certain degree. Like, you have athletes who don't need to train as often as others do. Maybe JT Bowe is a bit of a exceptional case, but I've heard, I think Preutz say that this year one of the reasons why she felt things were going well is because she kind of did her own thing to a certain extent.
Yeah, and I think so much of that can come with like time in the sport and experience and learning what your body needs, and if you have coaches that are supportive of that, I think you can sort of like trust your gut. And I still think there needs to be a certain amount with the team. Just it's an individual sport, but it's like so important to have a strong group of people, is what I would say.
And I don't necessarily mean that they train separate from the team, but just more, when one part of the group goes, full out sprints all the time, and you're just like, that my body just doesn't take that well, that you have that flexibility to sit out one or two or just go slower. Or
totally.
I'm still thinking about what you were saying, potentially being on a French team and training with such high skill athletes or high level athletes. But I really wonder how much stress that gives, because even for Lou, I have a feeling that if she would be, starting really slow with some bad performances in the first trimester, like it wouldn't be shocking to see that she would be going down to the IBU if the rest of the team is performing really strongly, right?
Yeah. I think she's safe no matter what she does. But
I think Lou would be shocking, but I get your point.
Would be, but I mean, if you have 4 French women in front of you every race, or maybe even more, and because they need to go from 6 to 5 or 4, even after 2 races. Anyway.
Yeah. And I think
I'd be shocked too, but
I agree.
or someone like Simon.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think it's like different stakes, but I also think there's so much movement on those teams that it seems like it's not a big deal when they get bumped down for a weekend and then they come back up. And I would say in the past few years, being on a smaller nation team, it can almost feel like more stress because we don't have the depth, that when that movement does happen, it feels like a huge blow. for some
Right.
athletes.
Mhm.
And it's maybe not, like again, even just budget wise, the French team can fly someone in for one day for a mass
Right.
start or whatever. And that's not happening if you're a Canadian athlete. It's like you might go down to IBU Cup and now no matter what you do, you're down for 3 weeks because it doesn't work out logistically. And it's just, a different situation.
Right.
Yeah. Sort of spinning that ahead, when you look at the team that you've now left behind, right? So now you and Christian and Scott have all left, and that's sort of a generation that has moved on. You've left behind a relatively young group. Who do you look at as kind of like the group or the individuals who are going to step forward as the new leadership team?
It's a good question. It's a 4-person national team this year, which I would say in my career, that's the smallest there's ever been. And I would say obviously Pascal had a pretty amazing breakout onto the World Cup last year. And I really hope that her and Benita and Nadia can kind of push each other and keep that momentum going. And I think obviously for me on the men's side, Adam, who's the only national team member on the male side this year, has a lot of potential, and he's had some great results over the years. And then it's a bit of not a mystery, but kind of curiosity to see, because we had a few young juniors, like Jasper came up last year for a little bit, and Dan, and I think sometimes it's kind of cool to just get a little bit of exposure and then go back, focus on World Juniors, because it's really, obviously Logan, he's not on the national team this year, but he's been kind of a staple of the World Cup. It's going to be quite interesting to see. I think the 3 women are clear standouts to me, and Adam. And then, I'm curious. It'll be very fun to watch as a spectator.
Oh,
yeah.
Do you know if Luke Halshoff is going to BATC?
He was on it last year with Christian, and he's on it again this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd say, speaking of people who focused on Junior Worlds and did very well.
Yeah. He's been impressive. Of course, maybe I'm biased because he's one of Christian's athletes, but I'm rooting for all the BATC kids.
Oh, but no, he really was awesome. I mean, when we saw him, and where were Youth Worlds last year? Östersund.
Östersund,
yeah. He looked fantastic. You mentioned Pascal? Did you happen to see her this weekend at all? Not personally, but her results?
We were texting, and she literally traveled on Wednesday to head over to Europe. So she got there Thursday. Friday, I think they went for a run and drank some Aperol spritz, and then she's pulling out a result like that. But she's an awesome person to have on the team because she has so much fun and brings such a fun energy. And I would say a couple of girls on the U.S. women's team are on that same, they're younger, they're getting into the World Cup scene. And I spent a bit of time with them last year, and I'm really happy that she's going on the camp with them. And man, getting some prize money on day 3 of your camp, that's sweet.
Yeah. Well, it was her race was awesome too, because she had that issue with the target, in her very first shoot, but even still was in a dead sprint with Kuzmina, there at the end. And then with when they gave her the time back, put her over the top for the win. Yeah. Yeah. It was pretty, I saw
your tweets about it, but I can't say that I watched it live.
I got to do something to keep myself busy on a Saturday in June. And that happened to be it.
It was perfect. I got a play-by-play, and I didn't even have to.
Yeah, you didn't have to find this live stream. I will say thank you to. I had several people who sent it to me, so very thank you to them for sending it to me. But it was fun to watch.
So I missed that last part. So she actually won the race, because of the time. Okay, because I did see that. I was all confused because I was still kind of sleeping when I watched it, and I was. For me, it seemed really weird that the targets didn't line up with the lanes. So was it like a digital display of? Okay.
Yeah, it didn't look right on the screen, but yeah, they actually did line up.
I wasn't wearing my glasses, and I was kind of looking sideways. I'm like, am I just like completely cross-eyed now, or?
Well,
Odd,
so
but,
and it's all. Sorry, Emma, this has nothing to do with you, and I apologize. But and it was, the commentators were obviously Italian, and I don't speak Italian at all, and so I would, during the first shooting, I was like, I think that was Pascal who had the problem with the targets, and then there she was, like in the mix at the end. I was like, oh, that couldn't possibly been her, that she made up all that time, but it absolutely was, and yeah, it was very, very neat. So anyway, long story short, I think that she has a lot of potential as well. So I'm very excited about her.
Agreed.
So what's the first thing you're really happy not to have to do as a former athlete?
Man, it's like such a broad thing, but just the structure of training, I would say. I've still been pretty active. I think it makes me feel good to do activities.
Uh-huh.
I just don't call it training anymore. I mean, I'm not quite maybe like Johannes Bo level training for marathons and things like that. But just being able to go do the activity I want to do at the time I want to do has been awesome. And I helped out at a training camp with some young Alberta girls, so I have been on roller skis once. But it was more, we were kind of out together doing some drills. I liked roller skiing as an athlete, and I'm not getting rid of them just yet. I'm helping out at another camp at the end of July, so I'll bring them, but I don't really think I'm going to be doing that by myself. I told the girls, I told Nadia, Benita, and Pascal, I'll go for one ski with you guys this summer. So let's do a group day. You pick, and I'll take some faster wheels, and we can go for like a social ski.
It's not like Sunday morning, hey, Christian, I'm just going to ski up Norquay for a couple times. Or.
But yesterday I did do a 3-hour run with Benita, so I was pretty proud of myself.
There you go. Yeah.
Wow. 3 hours.
Yeah, it's been nice to do, like running is something I really enjoy, and it's easy to be social because you're just trying to scare the bears away, chit-chatting on the trails. So I just kind of told them, I said, look, I'm here, I'm working and doing school, but just let me know if there's days you want to do something, and if it works out, I'll join you. Because I know how busy their schedules are, and it's hard to maybe find in time for just like pure socializing every week and getting together and doing something, but they have to get their training done. I'm happy to stay active, and as long as it's not on roller skis, I'll do it.
Is that just, are you worried about falling?
You know what? Not at all. I think it's just I did it so many days for so many years that I'm really excited for skiing in the winter, and I just don't feel the need, I would say.
Oh, it's fair enough. Sorry, Jordan.
No, when we talked to Claire Egan, was that 2 years ago now, she talked about how she initially thought she was going to retire, and she dumped her roller skis, like she threw them away, and then she decided not to retire, so then she had to buy new ones.
Oh my God, that's such a Claire thing to do.
So that story popped into my head, but I was going to say, first of all, if you haven't been training as hard as you were as a professional athlete, the fact that you could just pick up and go for a 3-hour run is spectacular. I mean, that's incredible. But also, when you're going on a 3-hour run, is it, I'm doing this, we're going to run this trail and it just happens to take 3 hours, or is it we're going for a 3-hour run? And how do you plan out a 3-hour run?
Yeah, good question. I think I know Canmore loops fairly well just from the years. And I think also I remember what it was like as an athlete where, every Saturday we would have a volume workout, and it was sometimes just agony to try and pick the loop. So I was like, okay, Benita, let's do it. And I'm going to plan the route and we'll run it at your pace, but I think it'll be good. Like, just, I know how taxing and mentally, and they were at the end of a big week and everything, so she went easy and then I could keep up, but it was 3 hours and 1 minute, and I was so proud of myself.
That's incredible. Well done.
And we started from my house and ended at my house, so it was a nice big loop that we did. And we pretty much talked for 3 hours, so
Nice.
it went by pretty quickly.
That's amazing. Were either of you wearing anything that told you like what the elevation gain was on that run?
Yeah, she would have had her. I had a watch, but I didn't look at it other than for timing.
Yeah.
But she would have, I'm sure, recorded the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by this. I would love to know what it was. But I personally, because, when I do a run around here, obviously Central Florida, it's pancake flat. My entire,
Right.
like the entire run, like the total elevation gain will be like 80 feet. And like, I just can't imagine what you would get over 3 hours.
Okay, I'm gonna just see. If I have
Must have been nice too that there's not somebody at the end poking your finger. Right?
I'll send you an email after. I'll let you know.
Yeah, please
I'll
do.
find the
I'm
data.
really curious. Yeah.
Okay. I can get you that information. I'm like, oh God, what if it's not that impressive? Don't put it on the podcast.
No.
I can edit the data for you, Emma.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Perfect. Felt like we were
Oh,
climbing a lot. I'll say that.
Well, just where you are, like I just have to imagine that even if it's like even just
Yeah.
like small things, for you would be like mountains to me. So
Right.
Have the bears been out yet? Have you seen her?
Yeah, I haven't really seen any this year. I mean, I've been doing, I would say, more running alone, so I always bring bear spray.
Mhm.
But I really haven't seen any this year, and we didn't see any on our run, but I know they're around.
Yeah.
what a casual conversation you guys are having about bears.
It's so normalized. Like I understand that they're out and I bring my bear spray, but I would say it doesn't deter me from doing things.
Yeah.
But my mom had a cousin in town and she was like nervous to walk down to the river and I was like, well, there's not bears by the river, like there's people everywhere.
Yeah.
But I think
She
it's
doesn't
just
know.
it's obviously where you come from and maybe we're a little bit desensitized just
I'm
seeing
sure.
them
Yeah.
frequently.
I also think if you cannot relax with the idea that you're running, even though there could be bears, then you probably shouldn't be living in Canmore, right?
For sure.
It's, yeah, we've even
crazy
had
to
them. We're just by the Weaselhead Park here, by the reservoir in Calgary, and we've had bears there too. But yeah, I think you just get used to it, I guess.
Yeah.
Have you done any fun things like vacations or read books that you were waiting to or watched movies or anything?
Yes, I have. I will say I had this, now I know, unrealistic expectation that I would retire and I would just have a very calm, relaxed life. I would be rested. I would wake up every day feeling fresh. And it's really not been that.
Yeah.
Right when I got home, when was that? End of March. Yeah, I was here for a few weeks finishing up a university course and just, kind of enjoying Canmore. And then Christian and I went on a 2-week road trip to Vancouver Island. So we stayed we brought our mountain bikes. We kind of stayed with friends the whole way. So it was a very like social but nice trip. And then at the end, we were in Victoria staying with my grandma, and that's when we got engaged, actually.
I was going to ask because I saw your left hand pop up earlier, and I was like, I think I saw something, but I don't know if I want to ask now.
Yeah. And honestly,
that's awesome.
It was the very end of our trip, and Victoria has always been just we go there usually once or twice a year to see my grandma. It's when he was training, it was where we would go on our rest weeks, and it's just kind of a special place for us, I would say. And it was so nice to be able to celebrate with her. And my mom was there too.
Nice.
And it was a complete surprise. Like I literally had no clue. So he did so well, I would say.
Congratulations, Christian. You did it, buddy.
Yeah.
I know. So that was kind of our trip. And then I've done a few like smaller things. I went and saw some of my like high school friends who, there's a group of 4 or 5 of us who've stayed in touch. We've known each other for like 20 years and we try to do something every year. So I headed out to Vernon for a weekend. Went to a friend's cabin. So kind of like little things, nothing huge.
Sounds great.
Yeah, it's just been nice to do these things without the stress of how do I train when I'm in Vernon or fit it in. But I've been doing also, like I had spring courses for university and I have a summer course starting tomorrow. And then I've been working at Starbucks a couple days a week.
Excellent.
And then also I helped out at one camp so far, and I'm doing another one for a week in July. So it's been like full, but kind of lovely to just do everything I want to do.
Going back to
Are you from the island originally?
No, I'm from Vernon, but my grandma I was born in Vancouver, but my grandma has lived in Victoria, I think for like 25 years, something like that.
Oh, okay.
So it's like we would go there for 3 or 4 weeks every summer. Christmases, just she's still in her same place. She's turning 90 this fall, so we're going out there for a big birthday. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
Going back to the engagement, did you guys have any conversations at any point about like rings, diamonds, settings, all that stuff? So he did it all by himself?
Never. Yes.
What a guy.
And I love it.
Yeah, what a guy.
That's
fantastic.
I know. Yeah. It was like I said, I'm like, I wouldn't have been more surprised if an alien had like come down. Like I was like, what is going on? But I think he missed me over the winter is what I learned.
Yeah. Well, yeah. He's
like, well, better
this is what life would be without Emma. I don't want to do this again.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, that was like, just another fun thing, I guess.
So now the big question, of course, is it going to be in the new building at the Nordic Center?
We haven't got that far. I think we're going to ride out the engagement for a little while.
Do it.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I had another question off of that too. Starbucks. What is your least favorite order to make? Your least favorite drink? Someone comes in here and you're like, "Oh, are you serious?"
It's honestly change over.
But I was gonna say, while you're thinking, I used to work at Cold Stone, and anything people wanted with chocolate ice cream was terrible because ours was like hard as a rock, and so if you had to mix anything into it, it was horrible. So people would come in and ask for chocolate ice cream, I'd be like, "This is ridiculous! I can't believe you're doing this to me."
I used to say I didn't like making drinks that had matcha powder just because it kind of like can puff up in your face and it feels like it's in your lungs. But I've sort of gotten over that. There's not really a drink I don't like making. I just I don't like it when it's like I have to do like 2 hot drinks and a cold drink. I want to do your whole order. I want it to just be the same kind so I can get it done at one station instead of having to like move around. But
sure, I know.
I honestly, people. Once you're there for 15 years, it's kind of like you get used to whatever drinks
it is
you
what
have
it is.
to make. Yeah.
What class are you taking?
I've been in a UFC program. It's community rehab and disability studies. So it's a 4-year degree. I almost have 2 years finished. Because I was kind of like slowly chipping away, but it's very like community support worker, social services stuff. So I that's what I'm going to do in the fall is I'll go into Calgary like in person full time, and I'm just chipping away at a few online options that I could get done before then, basically. So it's something I'm like really interested in, which makes it easier. But I would say the spring and summer courses maybe aren't my favorite because they're condensed into 6 weeks, and I just feel like I have to rush my learning. I can't maybe take the time to like absorb as much as I would. But because you also asked about reading, like I love reading. I'm reading like a book a week typically.
Oh, great.
And I will say that too, like I used to have Sunday mornings that was my rest day. So I'd wake up before Christian, I would make a tea and I would have like an hour of like quiet reading. And depending on my work schedule and things like that, like sometimes I can do that 3 or 4 days a week. And I just go out on our little balcony, and it's like just a little thing like that you just can't do it as an athlete, which is totally fine.
Yeah.
It's so enjoyable for me to have that
great
time.
So what are you reading right now? What types of books?
I just read a really great fiction called Dream Count that was kind of about the lives of these 3 different women and how they all intertwined.
Cool.
And now I'm on a bit of a different tangent where I'm reading a memoir about a father whose son died of opioid addiction.
That's hard.
Yeah, but I think I do that. I kind of do like a like very enjoyable fiction and then something a little bit more real. Just again, it's like things that I'm interested in or curious to learn more about or don't understand. And I take it all out of the library, which is awesome because I just put my little list in, and when they come in, I read them. And then I have like a fluffy one to read after this one, just like a little summer novel.
Well, you're going to need something light after this.
Yeah. So that's what I'm reading right now. My mom came over and she's like, "Oh, this doesn't look very nice." I'm like, "Well,
what a nice book to."
I was like, you know what? I've got something nice for after. I think it's important to keep it. Yeah. So.
Yep. And then you have to reward yourself for doing it by reading something fluffy and nice and happy and whatever,
Exactly.
So do you think we're going to see you in coaching? So, because I think, is Christian doing BATC full time now?
Yeah, he is. This is his 2nd year. And their head coach is on mat leave. So he's in a bit more of a like, him and the cross country coach are sharing sort of the head coach position. Which is pretty cool, after just 1 year for them to be sort of in charge of the program. And I think I knew I wanted to be involved in some capacity, but I didn't want like a weekly commitment with a club, partially just because of my schedule and the commitments I already have. So yeah, helping out at a couple of these different camps felt like a pretty good way where I could just like drop in with some different groups and different skill abilities and things like that. And on the side, I'm also working through some of the like comp int coaching courses. Not because I want to be a full-time coach, but I think it's important to get a little bit of that education. Obviously, I have the athlete experience, but there's so much on the other side that I don't know. So I just thought, again, I have the time right now. It's something I'm interested in. There's a lot of like resources and grants and things like that to try and get some of the courses covered. And yeah, I think I'll just see. I only have another camp so far in July that's lined up, but I'm definitely open to helping out more, even with like some clubs and things like that.
I just think what a cool experience for a young athlete to, have you as a coach for a day or however long it takes.
Yeah, and the weekend I did at the end of May, it was just girls who were 12 to 16, I think. So that's a pretty big like spread from 12 to 16, but it was such a fun experience for me. Like I taught a girl how to roller ski. She had never roller skied before. And in 2 hours, she's ripping down the hills at the Nordic Center.
Nice.
And I was like, oh my God, that is awesome. And yeah, I felt like I was getting just as much out of it as the girls were.
That's awesome. Yeah. I always think of, I used to play field hockey as a kid, and every now and then we would have either somebody from the national team or just like one level below would just do like 2-hour practice, and you just the first half of the practice you're just staring at them because it's it's the guy you see on TV, and I can imagine that for these girls it must have been a bit like that too, right?
Yeah, and I think I'm in Canmore right now. It's very easy access to biathlon
Mhm.
groups and things like that. I don't
Mhm.
know where I'll be in the future. And I also, I would say I haven't seen a lot of national team athletes that have, maybe it's depending on where they lived or how their careers ended, whatever. Obviously, Christian is like heavily involved. But I knew that that was something that I wanted to do just because I got so much from the sport. And when I was young, I knew how impactful it was to have role models, at a nationals or at some sort of event. And
Mhm.
I just think, especially while it's like fresh,
Yeah,
it's an easy time to kind of give back.
Totally.
I was sitting here thinking, like, my daughter's 2, so not nearly in that 12 to 16-year-old range, but just like how awesome it would be to like have your own daughter, like, hey, like watching someone like Emma Lunder give her time to, you know, coach up these girls who really don't have a lot of experience in it. I am like grateful on behalf of the parents whose kids you were teaching. I think that's like a really awesome thing you were doing.
Yeah, and like we stayed at Camp Chief Hector, which RJ, I think you'll know, is like a place they do summer camp for kids. And we were like singing little songs before the dinner, and there were actually like camp counselors for part of it, and then there was like the biathlon staff doing the biathlon thing. But I was like, I feel like I'm at summer camp. Like this is awesome.
That's so cool. And
That's
and
so
I
cool.
I just think of the long term impact too. Like at that age, to be exposed to somebody who just came from the World Cup, that just a drive to also want to push for making it to the World Cup.
Mhm.
When they see that you're a super athlete, but at the same time you're just also a normal person, then I think that's really important for kids to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was just curious because one of the really nice things of racing in Europe or racing in biathlon is that you get to see a lot of Europe, but at the same time, you probably didn't get to see a lot of the
Mhm.
places outside of the range. Is there any particular place you would like to go back to explore the area outside of the biathlon world? And if you had to move to Europe, where would you end up, you think?
Oh, the moving one is hard. I'll think about that. I think, yeah, you're right. There were so few places um, that I really got to explore. I would
Mhm.
love to go back to Finland. And I think
Mm,
just that's where my grandma is from. So I always sort of felt this connection. I would take photos when we were in Kontiolahti and Joensuu and the pastries or whatever we were having. She would know them. Like she's like, oh, that's the blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, exactly. Like I don't know how to pronounce that. So I do feel like I always had a connection, and I would love, yeah, to go to Helsinki or one of the like cities
mhm,
and explore a little bit. Um, Probably the best memory I have of going somewhere was actually Salzburg, and
Mhm.
it was going into 2021 World Champs. I think Christian and I had had like an awesome single mix relay, and I'd had a good weekend in Pokljuka. And we got to our training camp in Ramsau. It was like the pre-World Champs camp. And I
Mhm.
was just like, I need to go somewhere and not think about biathlon for 24 hours. And I booked a hotel for myself. I did not invite Christian. I booked a train ticket and I went
Uh,
for 24 hours to Salzburg. I stayed at like a cute boutique hotel downtown. I just walked
oh,
around. I went to like museums. I went out for dinner with myself and a book. And I just had like such a great day. And after Oberhof World Champs, I said, okay, this time you can come with me. So we went for we went back and we went for a couple nights and again like did the castle. We stayed at the same hotel that I had stayed at because I loved it so much and we just walked around and ate for like 2 or 3 days. So I think I could see living there just
mm.
because it
yeah.
was somewhere I really found like very easy. It felt safe. It was like small enough that you could walk around. It wasn't this like crazy huge city that I didn't know how to navigate, but big enough that there were things to do and close to skiing. Um, but I also kind of like Ostersund. I'm not sure I would want to live there, but same thing. I almost with Scott Gow's girlfriend, who we call Swedish Emma. She and her and Scott have been together since 2019, and when I would
Yeah.
go there, I would go to her like family's house, and I would go out for brunch with her, and just have a bit of that not feeling like a biathlete for a little
Mm.
while. And I really thought it was like a cute town to walk around. But
Nice.
if I was there in like mid-December for 6 to 8 weeks, I don't know if I would say the same thing, but I would really love to visit in the summer.
Yeah.
I would say that.
It's funny because I, haven't seen most of these places except for, the biathlon, the stadium and the range and that. And so when you say, Ostersun's a cute town, all I can imagine is that big brick building that's like right on the side of and I'm like, I have to imagine there's more to it than just large
and a lot of wind.
warehouse looking buildings. But
I know. No, it is. It's a cool place.
Yeah.
And I must say, I have been in Helsinki, and what I remember most is that we were staying in. There used to be a hotel in the Olympic Stadium, or not Olympic, the what do you call it? Or was it Olympic? Anyway, their big stadium, and then we would walk to the downtown core, and I think is it May 1st that they celebrate either the start of the summer or national holiday. I'm not sure, but everybody was drunk, literally everybody, and I honestly think that we saw some policemen, and I bet you they were maybe not completely intoxicated, but everybody's drinking. It was unbelievable.
Oh man!
And you joined right in, of course.
Probably at that time, yeah. But so we're talking in the morning, right? 9 or 10 in the morning.
Oh my gosh!
Oh wow!
Yeah, no, it was.
That's different.
Yeah. I have one more question. If we want to interview, and I know it's going to be tough for you to answer, but I still want to answer. One of the 3 girls now on the national team, and we want to interview one of them. Who should we go for?
I'm not sure I can answer that.
Yeah, you can.
I would say if you want a really fun interview, Pascal's your girl.
Okay, I think we already had a winning vote on that one with Jordan. But
I've been voting, for a while. So
yeah, it'll be entertaining. That's for sure.
Good.
She's got good energy. So
yeah, that's fantastic.
But I feel like you guys are doing a lot of Canadians. I saw Andrew. I mean, Matthias, I still think of as a Canadian.
Yeah.
We got Logan coming up.
Oh, giving us some good exposure. I love it.
Yeah, and it's well overdue.
That's what I was going to say. Is I feel like we've sort of not done enough Canadian stuff. So, and especially, I can say this now. We had our meeting with the immigration attorney on Friday. So we're like 2 steps away from being able to just like show up at the border and saying we're here. So anyway, it's getting close.
Whoa.
We'll be Canadians soon. Well, I guess not Canadians, but permanent residents. Yeah. So it's happening.
Got the red
do you
jersey
know where you're
on already.
Go?
Well, the goal is to be out in Calgary. Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, cool.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, still coming out. Yeah, I'll come in and order a bunch of hot and cold Starbucks drinks from your store at the same time.
And if you're looking for,
I'll take you for a walk. We can go hunt some bears.
Oh, great! Yeah,
go for a 3-hour run. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in case you're thinking of selling your rifle, you might be looking for one.
That ship has sailed.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Already?
Yeah.
Someone on the team?
That was fast.
No, actually, it's funny. I had talked to maybe Scott and Christian and a few other people just through the years of like when you guys, and it was maybe before they retired, when you guys retire, you're going to sell your guns. And they're like, no, like that's been such a big part of my life, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my God, that's going to pay my mortgage for a few months. Like that thing is gone when I'm retired. And then when I actually did retire, I was like, am I actually going to sell this? But I think the thing for me is it was this piece of me that I used every single day. And it just didn't feel right to like keep it. I didn't feel like I was going to go out and shoot. I really don't think that I'm going to like have the urge to go to the range and shoot. And I was like, I would way rather that some young athlete is using this and it's like still out there and getting to do races and whatever. And I found a like young family from Calgary that was looking, and I guess that was the start of June that I sold it. And the day that I was bringing it to them, I cleaned it for the last time, and I did actually get like a tiny bit emotional. I was like, oh, this is like happening. But then when I went and saw the girls, and it's like two young sisters, and they were so excited, and I kind of took the time to show them how to like take it apart and clean it, just because no one really did that for me. And I remember being at a training camp and I saw people take the stock off of the barrel, and I was like, I've been cleaning my gun wrong for the last 2 years. Like, I didn't know you could do that. And I just, I was like, okay, this thing has been my baby. I got to make sure it's getting like taken care of. And the mom texted me after I left, and she's like, they were just like touching it and looking at it and like writing down little notes of what you had told them. And I said, I was like, literally, if you ever have questions, just text me. But I left feeling like this is where it was meant to go.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
How old were you?
How much was it customized, or?
It was a Bachmann stock, but then I had some like 3D printed pieces, like butt hook and that sort of stuff, but very adjustable. And I think that was the nice thing that they were looking for, because they're quite young.
How old were you when you got the rifle?
This one, I got the stock probably in 2018.
Okay.
So I've had it for quite a while, but I'd had the barrel and the action for longer. But yeah, this was my third, I guess. I started with an Izmash way, way, way back in the day. But yeah, it was. I have no regrets. I mean, it's been a month. I'm really happy to know that they have it. But when I was cleaning it, I was like, Christian, I feel kind of sad. I'm like, I'm not going to do this again. And it's something I did weekly for the last 10 years. Like, it's just.
Well, if you really have an itch, you can always clean mine. If you, I'm happy to.
And I do feel like I feel like I have a little bit of like leeway, because Christian still has his. So if I really, really one day wanted to shoot, I know that I could go shoot his. But it just, I took some photos of it. I have all my race photos of me with it, and I was like, this is for someone else now to use.
Well, and imagine seeing them racing in Canmore at some point with your rifle. That must be a good feeling, right?
It'd be so fun to go out, because they're like 12 and 13, so they're like little.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, that's gonna be amazing.
Yeah,
that's an amazing thing that you did for them.
Yeah, and I mean, it was good for me too. So
yeah,
absolutely. Paid for your mortgage for a few months.
Right, like win-win.
Did you switch to Matthews skis just to have an extra pair after you retired? I guess you didn't know that then, eh?
No. And honestly, that they were so good to me. I was only with them for the 2 seasons. And unfortunately, they were not my best seasons, but they were just a really like kind group of individuals that I worked with. So that was, it was nice to have that kind of relationship at the end of my career.
Did you race on those new boots?
I did. This past season, I did. Yeah.
And what did you think about it?
I didn't find a huge difference. I didn't switch till after Christmas, just because the season before I never had a chance to try the boots. So I basically brought them home this year at the Christmas training camp and used them. But like, I found it a fairly easy adjustment. And I think the thing for me was like the top athletes on Mad Shoes were using them. So I kind of was like, I don't think this is the make or break necessarily, but if it's good enough for Sturla, I'm super happy to try it, especially because I didn't have issues with it. If it had been really uncomfortable or whatever, but I was like, I could go either way. So I'm going to go with the like newer tech.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think he was saying that he switched to Fisher because he could never find the boots fit very well on the
and you see athletes switching, and it's just a part of the sport, you know. I think it's like sometimes gets more attention just because it feels like, oh my God, did you see so and so switched? But it's happening all the time.
Yeah.
And it's very visible, right?
It
You
must
stand
be
there at the
nice
end
to
of the
be in that
race.
position too.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Can't complain. It's like all the top end equipment, no matter what brand, you're working with some good skis.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so I was also going to invite you for Fast and Fossil, but since you got rid of your rifle, I guess that doesn't apply anymore.
I come watch.
Come coach.
No, I'm sure you can shoot too. I'm sure there's somebody. Oh, you can use my rifle.
I'll come coach you guys.
There you go.
Yeah, how cool would that be?
Okay, deal.
But I'm going to charge you the master's fee.
No, I'll let Robin deal with that. that part.
Yeah. No, I was even thinking I know the Para World Cup is here. And I would love to, be involved in some way. So just seeing how I can work that with my school schedule and talk to some of the people involved. I think it's just like interesting to see biathlon from another angle and without the pressure of being a racer. It's a really fun sport. I mean, it's fun when you are a racer. But yeah, I definitely want to like still be around it. It's just, I still love it.
Do you think you'll travel to any of
Canmore's coming?
Well, before then, do you think you'll travel to any of the events? If not this year, in the next couple of years?
I don't have plans to. I'm not saying I wouldn't. I think Christian, I would love to take a like tropical vacation.
Yeah, you deserve it. You deserve it.
So, but first, I mean, if anything was like North America, I'd be more inclined just because it's easier. I mean, Canmore, that'd be the dream. But no, I think it would be pretty cool. Like even to go with my brother or something, just seeing how fun it was for him in Oslo. Yeah. One day, I'll go as a spectator one day.
Well, it's is it 2027 that it's back in Canmore?
Someone was telling me that. I don't actually know, but that sounds correct.
Yeah, we're on the calendar for sure.
Okay. Well, then I think I could safely say I would go.
Yeah, if you don't go to that one,
I think you should be the what do you call it? The person that fires the gun for the start of the mass start or something.
I don't know if Borut will let anyone but himself do that.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, I'm through my list. Yeah, was there anything you wanted to?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Was there anything that you wanted to ask us? Don't feel like you have to. I just felt like
mention.
No,
you can still mention the prunes that you were promoting, or.
Oh shoot, that was a few years ago. That one, that's not with me anymore. But no, I feel like we kind of covered, retirement, future of biathlon in Canada, all the good stuff. So
yeah, and really the most important things were your engagement, the books you're reading,
right? Yes, exactly.
Your rifle. Those are I think people need to. Hopefully, they stuck around for the end of this because that's when the good stuff came out.
Well, and it's really good to hear that you're not like, kind of regret retiring or like. It seems like as hard as decisions were, that now you feel like you made the right one. So that's always the important part, right?
And I think it's like you just don't know, but it's been like so clear to me. I've missed the team. I'll say that. I've missed the athletes and the coaches every day, and just sort of that like built-in social aspect that I had. But I really do feel like it was a good time, and it's just exciting to be curious about the future and do something new. And it's scary. I've never gone to university in person. I'm like, I have to figure this out, but I'm
sure you'll do fine. Are you going to be one of the people that get up at 4 a.m. to watch live?
I don't think so, but I think I'll be one of the people who like doesn't go on my phone until I've watched it, because I still don't want spoilers.
Right. Fair.
But I'm really excited to watch, and Yeah, just enjoy it from the comfort of my cozy couch.
Well, you should do that, and you should go.
That must be weird. The first races.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah,
I'll let you know. Maybe it's completely different, and I'm like a mess that first World Cup week, but I hope not.
Well, I was gonna say you should go enjoy a movie on that comfy couch or something, because
Yes.
And then good luck with classes starting tomorrow. My only request for you is that you guys don't leave Canmore at any time in the near future, because I've got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old who are going to need some biathlon coaches. So you guys are on call.
Okay. You have my email, so
yeah. Well, I mean, you're gonna have to stick around for a while because they're pretty young. So
I know. I'm like, what age do they start biathlon?
I don't think it's 2 and 4. I can tell you that. All right,
we'll be around
get
for
out
a
of here.
while for sure.
Yeah, get out of here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
We really appreciate it.